Hello, friends. I am going to talk about the poem The Canonization, written by John Donne. John Donne is one of the leading metaphysical poets, and you can watch my video on metaphysical poetry for a more detailed study on the genre. The poem Canonization is a poem that has 5 stanzas, and each stanza consisted of 9 lines each. Now, this poem again displays some of the key features of metaphysical poetry, such as the shock tactic and the conceit. Now, let's go on to stanza 1, the canonization. For God's sake, hold your tongue and let me love, or chide my palsy or my gout, my 5 grey hairs, or ruined fortune flout. With wealth your state, your mind with arts improve. Take you a course, get you a place, observe his honor or his grace, or the king's real or his stamped face contemplate. What you will approve, so you will let me love. He begins the poem with what is called the shock tactic. It's a very abrupt beginning and a rude one for that. For God's sake, hold your tongue, says the poet, and let me love. So here it looks as if he's addressing a close friend, trying to advise him against his love affair. So he is tired of listening. He's tired of the advice, or he's unhappy with the advice, and he tells the friend to leave him alone and let him love. So he says, if you want to criticize, or if you consider love as an infirmity, if you consider love as one among my faults, he says, you may talk about the other problems that I have, like palsy or gout, or my grey hairs, my aging, or the manner in which I have wasted my money. You can talk about all that. Palsy is a sickness where you become weak and you start trembling. Gout is where you have pain in your joints, and grey hairs is the process of aging, or for my ruining all my fortune. The point is, don't talk about my love affair. Don't talk about my love. With wealth, and he says, a better option would be for you to look after your own affairs. With wealth, your state, your mind with arts improve. So he says, why don't you try to improve your condition, your state, your status by making more wealth? Or why not try to improve your mind with some arts, by engaging in arts? Why don't you take a course, learn something new, something in mathematics, something in philosophy, something that will enhance your mind? Try to get a place. A place is an important position. So do something through which you can enhance your position. Observe his honor or his grace, or you may pay your obeisance to the king or some important person. You can try to win his grace, win the grace of a powerful person by spending time with him and being obedient to some great person. Or the king's real or stamped face contemplate. So why don't you go to the court and spend time or look at the king, or maybe at least look at the real king or his face on the coin? Why don't you contemplate or spend time looking at that? What you will approve, so you will let me know. So what you will approve, so you will let me love. So he says, you may do any of these things. The only thing I ask of is that you let me alone and do not interfere into my love affair. So you can see that irritation that the author feels, the poet feels. He goes on to the next stanza. Alas, alas, who's injured by my love? What merchant ships have my sighs drowned? Who says my tears have overflowed his ground? When did my colds a forward spring remove? When did the heats which my veins fill add one more to the plague bill? Soldiers find wars, lawyers find out still it teaches men, which quarrels move, though she and I do love. So he says, why are you so bothered about my love and my love affair? What harm is this causing to anybody? Who is injured by my love? Has any merchant's ship been drowned by my sighs? Has somebody's grounds, that is, has a farmer's field been flooded because of my tears? Has the spring been, removed by my forward spring? When did my coals a forward spring remove? So has my coals, now this cold and heat and all this, that uh, being in love is a complex feeling. Sometimes you feel cold, you might have quarrels with your lover, and you might feel unhappy and detached. At other times, you might be so full of heat, so full of passion. And so sometimes you might be in a very emotional mood where you might be moved to tears. Sometimes you might spend your time sighing because you are away from your lover. So he says, whatsoever it may be, does my feeling in any way affect or cause harm to anybody else? When did my colds a forward spring remove? So has my cold ever delayed or removed a spring? Has the spring season been delayed because of my colds? When did the heats which my veins fill add one more to the plaguey bill? Has the heat that runs through my veins, my passion, my feeling, my anger, my love, has it in any way increased the number in the plague bill? So plague bill, there was a practice of recording the number of people who were killed by the plague, because those days a plague was a very common disease, an epidemic, and many people used to die of plague. And so he says, has there been any recorded incident of a person being killed because of my heat? Soldiers find wards, lawyers find out still litigisment. So he says, has anything in this world altered because of my love? Don't soldiers continue to find wars? Don't lawyers still continue to find clients who lodge complaints and charge cases against others? Though she and I do love, so does the love of between me and my lover, does it in any way affect the ongoings of the world? So then why are you so bothered about what happens to us? Why don't you just leave us to be happy with each other? In stanza 3, call us what you will, we are made such by love. Call her one, me another fly. We are tapers too, and at our own cost die, and we in us find the eagle and the dove. The phoenix riddle hath more wit by us. We two being one are it. So, to one neutral thing both sexes fit. We die and rise the same. We die and rise the same and prove mysterious by this love. So he says, you can call us by any name. Whatever we are so by our love for each other. You may call her a fly, you may call me a fly too. We are candles too. Taper is a candle. We are tapers too, and at our own cost die. So you know that flies are attracted to the tapers, and flies often get burned due to their attraction towards the taper. That's why he says that at our own cost die. So he might mean that flies are attracted to the taper and they die because of their fatal attraction. Similarly, these two lovers, they are attracted to, they are drawn towards one another. Maybe they will die because of their love for each other. But then he doesn't complain. And it can also be interpreted in this way. He is a candle or a taper, she is one too. And what happens to a candle? It burns. The candle burns itself to nothingness. Similarly, the lover, the lovers, they may die because of their passion for each other. Their very passion might kill them, might exhaust them. So these two images can be merged into one. Either it's a fly drawn to the taper and killing itself, or it's a taper itself that burns itself out. So love might be the end of us, but then we are happy about it. We have no complaints or regrets. And we in us find the eagle and the dove. So both the eagle and the dove we contain within us. The eagle is a violent and a fierce predator, whereas the dove is a meek bird. So one of us might be the eagle that devours the dove. The other might be a dove that submits itself meekly to the power of me. We might be one or the other at one time or the other. But then, in spite of being opposites, we are attracted to one another. We might be fatal to one another, but what if it is so? The phoenix riddle hath more wit by us. We two being one are it. Now, the phoenix, is a mythical bird that lives for hundreds of years and then it jumps into a fire, a burning fire. It kills itself, it reduces itself into ashes, but then it again, a new one, a new phoenix rises out of the dead one. So we are the phoenix. The phoenix riddle hath more wit by us. So the phoenix riddle seems more sensible when you consider us to be the phoenix, because the two of them, they die in their passion, they are burned by their passion of their love. And together we merge in order to become one, and we arise as a new being, a new and genderless being. We are neither male nor female, but we are one. So to one neutral thing, both sexes fit. We die and rise the same and prove mysterious by this love. So our love for each other creates us anew. It gives us a new birth. We are born again and again. Our love makes us immortal. Even in death, we continue to live. We can die by it, if not live by love. And if unfit for tombs and hearse our legend be, it will be fit for verse. And if no piece of chronicle we prove, we build in sonnets pretty rooms. As well, a well-wrought urn becomes the greatest ashes as half-acre tombs, and by these hymns all shall approve us canonized for love. So he says, maybe we cannot live by our love, but we can die for our love. And we would endure anything, any hardship for the sake of our love. So if we cannot live by love, we can die by it. And you may consider our love unfit for tombs and hearse. Our legend, that is our story, our love story, may not be fit for grand tombs or the hearse. The hearse is a conveyance or a vehicle in which a coffin is carried towards the tomb. So we may not merit a grand funeral or a great tomb, but then our love will definitely be fit for verse. If no piece of chronicle we prove, we'll build in sonnets pretty rooms. So maybe our names will not be recorded in the history books or in chronicles as an important event, but we'll surely inspire poets to write sonnets. We'll build sonnets in pretty rooms. Our immortal love story will inspire poets to write sonnets. Here there is another hidden meaning too, because in the Italian language, a stanza means a room. So here in stanzas, in beautiful stanzas, sonnets can be written about our love stories. So, though they cannot build a tomb or a hearse, they can build a pretty mansion. Beautiful poetry can be built on their love story. As well, a well wrought urn becomes the greatest ashes as half-acre tombs. So, a well wrought urn, though a small one, it can be a fit vessel for the greatest ashes. Because in ancient times, in the time of the Egyptian kings and pharaohs, the ashes of the dead people and kings, they were held in beautifully ornamented urns. So our love story may not be fit for a half-acre tomb, but definitely it would be fit for a well-wrought urn. And by these hymns, all shall approve us canonized for love. And through these hymns, a hymn is a holy song. Here, he means a love song. So he says, through these love songs, our love would be immortalized. And me and my lover, we would be considered as saints of love because we died for love. Now, canonization, we know, is the process through which a person is approved to be a saint. It is a process of approval of sainthood, and it is a complex process, and there are a lot of events, a lot of miracles associated with the process of canonization. So he says that just as hymns would be written about great saints, similarly, the love songs written about our love would lead to our canonization and thus invoke us, you whom reverent love made one another's hermitage, you to whom love was peace that now is rage, who did the whole world soul contract and drove into the glasses of your eyes, so made such mirrors and such spies that they did all to you epitomize. Countries, towns, courts, beg from above a pattern of your love. And future generations of lovers would invoke us as reverend lovers, and they would say, they would address us and tell us, you whom reverend love made one another's hermitage. So the two lovers, they were each other's hermitage. He lived for her and she lived for him. He prayed for her love and she prayed for his love. He found happiness in her just as she found happiness in him. And so they were two people who were devoted to each other. You to whom love was peace, that now is rage. So for both of them, to both of them, love was peace. It brought them tranquility because they found so much of happiness in each other. Sometimes love was rage when passion drove them mad. Passion for each other drove them mad. Who did the whole world soul contract and drove into the glasses of your eyes, countries, towns, courts. So for them, their room became the whole world, the whole soul. The whole world was contracted into their soul. Now, this picture of the lovers contracting the whole world into themselves, the lovers being the world for each other. This picture, this image is seen elsewhere in other poems of Donne too, where he calls his lover a state where he is the ruler. Similarly here, the two poets, they have shrunk the whole world into their souls. Nothing else matters to them other than each other. And they drove into the glasses of your eyes, countries, towns, and courts. So in her eye, he saw his whole world. She lived in his eyes, and he lived in hers. Nothing beyond that mattered to either of them. So they looked at each other and they found happiness and they found all meaning and only in each other. Countries, towns, and courts shrunk into themselves. And so he says that future generations of lovers would invoke them, would pray to them, and tell them, beg from above a pattern of your love. So they would entreat these two lovers to beg from above a pattern of your love. So they would say, please request God to show us the pattern of your love so that we too can follow that pattern, because you are role models of ideal lovers. Show us how to love so that we too can achieve sainthood through our divine love for each other. So here in this poem, you can see that he elevates two selfless lovers to the status of saints. So their love, their physical love, their sensual love, the sexual attraction for each other is so overwhelming that it cuts out everything from their world. They're so devoted to each other that the very devotion takes them to a sublime level of purity. It is not tainted, it is pure love that gives them so much of fulfillment. And just as the pure love, the pure untainted love for God leads a person to sainthood, here the pure untainted love for each other leads them to the ultimate fulfillment. So in this poem, you can see that spiritual love and physical love is merged to reach, to epitomize the most perfect form of love. So you find images and conceits where lovers are compared to flies, lovers are compared to tapirs, and lovers are compared to the phoenix that is reduced to ashes and is born as a new entity out of those very ashes. So this is an example of a metaphysical poet where heterogeneous images are kind of forced together to give rise to a new idea, to a forceful idea. So this is one popular poem, a very popular poem written by John Donne, where he may be talking about his own, the intense love that he himself experienced for his wife, because they were two lovers who were devoted to each other and found so much of happiness and fulfillment in each other. So this poem, The Canonization, is one interesting poem that treats love in a very different and in a very novel way. And it is this very treatment, the very unconventional and experimental treatment of love, that makes it unique among the love poems that we have read. Thank you for listening to me.